All right, let's dive into one of humanity's biggest questions, but we're going to look at it through a lens that connects two worlds you probably thought were completely separate: ancient scripture and quantum mechanics.
So, what is consciousness really? Is it just the firing of neurons in your brain, a really sophisticated biological computer, or is it something more? For centuries, that question belonged to philosophers and theologians. But what if the answer was actually described thousands of years ago, using a language that we're only now, with modern science, beginning to understand?
Well, the source material we're digging into today proposes exactly that. It suggests that the Quran offers more than just poetry about the human spirit. It argues that within its verses lies a technical blueprint for the self, a model of a bio-quantum system, where consciousness directly interacts with our physical reality. So, where does this whole idea even start? Well, the entire framework kicks off by re-examining a foundational verse, not as a metaphor, but as a surprisingly technical description of a process. The model we're exploring looks at this verse and says, hang on, this is a precise technical statement. The fashioning part, that refers to the creation of our biological hardware, the body. But that second part, the breathing of the spirit, that's interpreted as something else entirely. According to this framework, the spirit, or ruh, is seen as a kind of coherent quantum information, a form of light state that gets integrated with our biology. So, it's not just a soul popping into a body, it's described as a full-on quantum event. And this integrated system, this combination of biology and quantum consciousness, that's called the nafs. So you see, the self isn't just the body, and it's not just the spirit. It's this amazing hybrid, this bio-quantum reality, where the physical and the quantum worlds meet. Okay, so if the self is a system, then what are its components? What are the parts? This framework actually decodes them from a single specific verse in the Quran, which is famously known as the verse of light. First up, we have light, or Nur. Now get this. In this model, light is equated with pure quantum information. It's the wave function. If you're not familiar in physics, that's basically a cloud of every single possibility that could ever happen, all existing at once. It's pure, uncollapsed potential. Next, there's fire, or nar. Now, in this model, fire isn't a substance. It's the energy that forces a choice. It's the act of measurement or observation that collapses that infinite wave of potential down into the one single particle of the reality we actually experience. Then we have the tree and its oil. This represents our biological hardware, our neural networks, our DNA. This is the processor, the physical machine that's capable of handling all this quantum information. It's even described as an oil that would almost glow by itself. Keep that phrase in mind. And finally, there's the glass. The glass is our consciousness, our perceptual filter. And this connects directly to one of the weirdest ideas in physics, the quantum observer effect, where the simple act of looking at something actually locks it into reality. The glass is what turns potential into the world we see. I know it's a pretty mind-bending theory, but the source material argues it's much more than that. It actually points to a modern scientific discovery as powerful evidence, specifically for that idea of a light that glows without fire. So first, we got to understand that there are basically two kinds of light. You got thermal light, like from a candle flame. It's chaotic, it's hot, but then you have coherent light, like a laser. It's incredibly ordered, structured, and it's not hot. It glows without burning. And this is where it gets absolutely fascinating. Scientists have discovered that our cells are constantly emitting these ultra-weak photons of light. They're called biophotons. And here's the kicker. This light is coherent. It's laser-like. It is literally a biological light that glows without fire. And what's even more remarkable is that the coherence of this light is a direct marker of health. Healthy cells emit ordered, coherent light, while diseased or cancerous cells emit chaos. So the model then takes this a step further and maps these classic spiritual concepts directly onto these biological states. Mercy, or Rahma, is framed as a high-coherence biophoton field, a state that promotes order and healing. In contrast, Wrath, or Ghadab, is a state of low coherence, a chaotic biological emission associated with disorder and disease. But here's the crucial point that ties it all together. The model claims there's a measurable link between our inner spiritual state and our outer biological light. It points to studies that suggest meditation and prayer can actually increase the coherence of our biophotons, literally making our inner light more orderly, more stable, more healthy.
Okay, so this framework doesn't just stop at our biology. It zooms way out, applying these exact same quantum principles to the fabric of reality itself.
Remember how the verse describes the source of this light as neither of the east nor of the west? Well, this model interprets that as a description of quantum non-locality, a state that isn't bound by our normal rules of space and time, where two connected particles can influence each other instantly, no matter how far apart they are.
And what about that beautiful phrase, light upon light? In this framework, that's seen as a perfect description of quantum superposition, the mind-bending idea that a system exists in all of its possible states at the exact same time, right up until the moment it's observed.
Think of it like this. The first light is that unseen wave of pure potential, all the things that could be. The second light is the particle, the manifest reality that actually appears once we observe it. Light upon light is that quantum state where potential and reality coexist, one layered on top of the other.
So, after all that, what does this actually mean for us, right now? Well, this framework isn't just some abstract theory to think about. It proposes real, tangible, and even testable implications for our lives. This is what makes it so interesting. It actually lays out several testable hypotheses. The core idea is that spiritual practices aren't just about faith. They are physical actions that should create measurable changes in our quantum biological system, from the light our cells give off to the patterns of our brainwaves.
And this all brings us to a really powerful concluding idea from the source material. The signs in the horizons are interpreted as the discoveries we're making in the cosmos and in quantum physics. The signs within themselves are the discoveries we're making inside our own bodies, like with biophotonics. The model argues that these two fields of science are finally converging to reveal a single, unified reality. So we're left with this final, really provocative question. What if the line we've drawn between the mystical and the material is way blurrier than we ever imagined? What if ancient scriptures weren't just telling us how to live, but were actually describing the fundamental physics of our very existence, challenging us, today, to see science and spirit not as opposing forces, but as two different languages trying to describe the same incredible reality?